The central branch of a library, a federal office tower, Canada Post, CBC Regional Broadcast Centre, the Centre of Performing Arts, and retail service facilities. In January 1869, Vancouver's first mill, Hastings Mill, was rapidly developing. The then manager of Hastings Mill, J.A. Raymer, started the New London Mechanics Institute, which was a meeting room in the library for his employees. This revolution is the subtle beginnings of what would soon be 2 million items, 22 branches, 395,000 cardholders, and 9 million annual borrowings. Unfortunately, as it was such a long time ago, no official records of the New London Mechanics Institute survived. However, today, the Vancouver Public Library still holds half a dozen books that have survived from the Hastings Mill Library. While it may not have a lot of members, the New London Mechanics Institute flourished quite well in its time, until April the 6th, 1886, when the Granville area of which the library was located was incorporated as part of the new city of Vancouver. In exactly the same year, the Great Fire of Vancouver took place, destroying many buildings in the city, which at the same time included many books. To help support the newly erected Vancouver Reading Room, the obsolete Hastings Mill donated 400 of its own books. James Edwin Mackin, the librarian of Vancouver Reading Room in 1890, sent a letter to the mayor and town council drawing their attention to the lack of space currently occupied by the Vancouver Reading Room, which was located above the Thomas Dunn and Company hardware store. Consequently, they released a 46 by 46 foot room in the YMCA building at West Hastings for a new library. Soon, the new library in the YMCA building was becoming overcrowded and congested, and once again would require more space. Luckily, in 1901, Andrew Carnegie, an American industrialist and philanthropist, was in the Vancouver area and was coincidentally giving money to cities and towns to build new libraries. Almost immediately, the town of Vancouver approached him and asked him to donate money to compensate for the lack of space in the YMCA building. Carnegie obliged and subsequently agreed to donate the sum of $50,000 if the terms were met, which was that the city had to supply a site for the new library and support it at a rate of $5,000 a year. Both parties agreed, and the terms on the construction of the new library site began. The new library was established at the corner of Hastings and Westminster Street, which is now Main. It was supposed to have been due to the fact that the site was next to the old City Hall. George William Grant, the architect of this new library, finished its construction on March 29, 1902, and the library was in use within under a year. In 1929, the City Hall adjacent to the new library was incorporated as an annex. During this time, it shared the Carnegie Building with the Vancouver Museum. This library was in function until 1957, when the new Central Library was opened at 750 Burrard Street. In 1980, after Vancouver had relocated, the Carnegie branch opened as part of the newly opened Carnegie Community Centre in the old Carnegie Library building. Going back to 1945, the City of Vancouver passed a money bylaw for the library buildings. This was the first time that had ever happened in British Columbia. 83% of the voters voted to provide a new central library and 3 branches. Throughout the next few years, the site of the new Central Library was heavily debated. In In July 1951, the site was chosen to be the northeast corner of Robson and Barrard Street. However, as late as 1954, there were people pressuring the library board and city council to reverse their decision. Fortunately, these protesters were silent and the construction of the new library began. It was opened on November the 1st, 1957, and was in function until April the 22nd, 1995, where it succumbed to a new library that exists today. Previously, the Central Library at Robson and Barrard was overcrowded, and its users requested for a new Central Library. In November of 1990, voters endorsed capital funds for a new Central Library. Consequently, the city bought a construction site at 350 West Georgia Street from the federal government, and it agreed with the provincial government that they would provide a long-term lease of 2 floors in the building. Next, the city had held a competition for the design of the new building. Architects Moshe Safdie, Richard Archambault, and Barry Downs were the winners. And in PLC Constructors Pacific Limited, who were in charge of the project, combined the ideas of the 3 architects and started work on the new library. This new library, called the Library Square, was officially opened in May 26, 1995, and today it still exists in its exact location. Today, the Library Square contains 2 million items, is the head building of 22 different library branches. It has 395,000 cardholders, and it has approximately 9 million annual borrowings.